Okay, so to answer this question, I'm going to say right away that I don't do things like a lot of other woodworkers and woodturners do. I'm very much self-taught, and after teaching myself and establishing my own habits, I ended up, watching a bunch of other woodturners and finding tutorials on the professionals and whatnot. And I found that I really do things differently, but it works for me, so I stick with it. First off, I use a lot of the flathead chisels here. They're suggested not to by other wood turners, by the professionals, but I have definitely found good uses for it. I just wish I had a longer handle. That's the biggest thing, is you want your chisels to have the longer handle. It's less of a strain on your grip while you're moving them back and forth. And with the flatheads, the ones that I use the most, I use a parting chisel a lot for my shaping and heavy removal. It's just the one that works for me. Couple different sizes of skews. These are very, very handy and useful. If you see, they have the triangular tip versus the flat tip like these guys. A spear skew, always handy for if you want to just come in and actually straight cut in or do very fine edges going in. And of course, this little swan neck guy with that rounded scraper on the end. This is great for getting inside to do bowls, cups, or anything like that. All right, so I'm starting with an uneven, not perfectly circular shape. And I'm going to come in with this guy, the separator. And this is actually what I use to remove a lot of the wood. I can just take this point and carefully work my way in. Once we're down to a mostly circular shape, you don't have any edges, branches, weird spots sticking out, this is where I'll tend to shift over and use one of these good sharp flat chisels. And what I often do is I can come across, use this flat edge to get a good smooth cut here, taking off a layer at a time. Or I can turn and push a corner in to dig a little deeper and take a shaving. Or I can come in and cut and pull ribbons. Very carefully like this, but you have to have a strong grip, not let it slide at all, because when you're coming in and cutting in at an angle like that, it'll want to grab and pull that chisel or suck it in. And like that, I can do quite a bit of shaping with these flat chisels, which are actually what I started with and all I had when I started. When I want to go in a little deeper, and I'm starting to find the issues with catching the edge and pulling those flat chisels in more. For starters, let me get the rest a little closer. That definitely helps. And then I take the skew here. And the skew, you can do a lot of very easy shaping, as well as get your wood cut a little smoother. I always sand, however, so I don't worry about making the perfect smooth cut with the chisels. And you can see when I'm coming in flat, I can get a smooth scraping cut, and I can angle, or if I turn the whole chisel up at an angle like this, it's less likely to grab and get thrown around or dig into the wood as those flat chisels. And I can really dig and cut into the wood, removing quite a bit at one time. But this face isn't quite even. So I actually want to get that cut flush before I dig in. All right, nice flat surface. When I come into the inside, I want to bring my guide a little bit lower than where my center is to start with here. And here I can either use my flat or my skew to start boring in. There's other ways where people actually have drill bits that they can attach to a slider on the end here and go in. I don't have that set up, so I'm left with these guys. Let me show you how I do it. All right, once I've got a good start, and it's getting harder to reach in there with my skew and my flat chisel because of the, you know, how short that head is. Move this guy a little bit back, I drop it a little lower even, and then I take my swan neck here. This has been the easiest way for me to work into the inside of bowls, cups, whatever, is this guy. Still pretty rough, but there's how I use my chisels. From here I've got a bunch of sanding work, and then I'm going to take the spear skew and go straight in through here to make the foot. I'll see that in just a moment. So, after a little bit more touch up and a whole lot of sanding, I'm here with this pretty looking goblet form. One last bit of work to do with the chisel and a saw. Spear chisel now. I can come in and form exactly where I want the foot or the bottom of this whole piece to be and make it perfectly flat as I push this in slowly and carefully. Now this last little bit I tend to just do with my saw, because I've had them come flying off every now and then, just cutting them off on a bigger piece. Now over to the sander, I'm going to clean and polish that bottom up a little bit. There we go, just touched up the bottom on the belt sander. Made it nice and flat, nice and smooth. And just like that, with these off chisels, I know I can make a pretty awesome and beautiful form. Stick around a moment longer and we can see what this looks like after a little bit of oil. And there we are. With the chisels at my disposal and the way that I use them, I can make something like that. I hope this is useful information, and thanks for the question.